On this edition of To My Way of Thinking, we've gathered a I'm going to say cultural, even though they're all males, and even though they come from, have varied backgrounds. One of the links that they share is that they all have higher education link. They're all have been involved in universities and colleges around the country. They have a bit of an Illinois link to them, but that's only briefing. But we have athletes on this call. We have academicians on this call. We have businessmen on this call. And wanted to gather them for a bit of a unique conversation that we have. Nate Farley has been with us before. He has a book out called The Faith of a Blind Coach that talks about one of the great organizers, and that's what I'll call him, an organizer and educator down in Jacksonville, Florida, that has done a lot for young people over his span of life. And Nate suggested we gather these folks together. So Nate, tell us a bit about your idea of having everybody together on this call.
Okay, gentlemen, how y'all doing? I know that Notre Dame is supposed to be coming here on December the 30th for the Gator Bowl game. And I wanted your audience to know something about these great men who have accomplished a number of things and who have taught a number of children. And I wanted to have you all on this so that you can be exposed to other people, not just the people you know, people around the world. And Fred was my neighbor, and actually I didn't know he had this podcast until he told me he wanted me on it. And we would see each other all the time, but never thought about doing this. But I talked with Dr. Withers, and Dr. Withers said, man, if you can get these guys on and tell their story, a lot of people who don't know their story will understand why they are where they are, what they went through. Because my thing is, my next book is not what you know, but what you show. And everybody that's on this podcast has done a number of things to show how great and how they believe in helping others. And they are part of my business partners also. And I wanted them to be recognized through this podcast show. And later on, we'll do more in depth.
All right.
That's basically what it is.
Okay. Now, the Dr. Withers you're talking about is a Notre Dame alumnus, and he's been a professor in Chicago for quite some time. When I had a discussion with him, he has some things that he studied with the gang problem up there, among other issues that have popped up. And hopefully he will be able to join us at a later date. Jesse McKinnon,
yes.
Sociology professor. What we have here, University, Alabama State University, HBCU, right, down south. Tell us a bit about your experience at the HBCU and what specifically do you look at in the study of sociology?
Well, actually, like I said, Alabama State University is my undergrad university. And then from there, I went to Howard University and received my doctorate in sociology. And specifically, what I want to look at is start doing a lot of notoriety on the black belt. I haven't done so previously, but I want to do that. That's what I want to focus on, the black belt area, because that is what made America what it is today, the black belt region. When cotton was king, it was these counties that prompted the U.S. to be the global leader that it is today. And so I work in the area of sociology at the university. I had an opportunity to come back and work. Prior to that, I worked at the U.S. Census Bureau in Suitland, Maryland, and I worked there for about 13 years. And then, like I said, between there and Chicago, it was a total of about 13 years.
All right. Al Samuels, tell us a bit about your life in Washington, D.C. You have a relationship with Notre Dame also?
I'm a graduate of the University of Notre Dame, 1975.
Whoa.
I was
and you're not even Irish. You're not Irish, right?
No, I'm not. They recruited Wayne Bullock and myself from Newport News, Virginia, back in 1971 to come to the University of Notre Dame, which the population was very minimal at the time, but we prevailed. We won the national championship our junior year, went to 3 bowl games, and we all got our degrees and have done very well for ourselves. So that's my connection to Dr. Withers, if you will. He's been a pretty long time friend, and we were talking about some things. And so I'm glad to see that all the guys have gotten together and are part of this.
All right. Albert Harris, you're on the phone. Tell us a bit about who you are and what's going on.
Well, let's see here. I lived in Wheaton, so I went to Wheaton College, and my claim to fame there was I was a little All-American in football and basketball and in track. But my coach was Coach Krauser, whose best friend was George Hallis, and also the coach up at Green Bay. I keep forgetting his name.
Vince Lombardi.
Anyway, Vince Lombardi, right. Vince Lombardi. So what they said was anybody that got coached by Coach Krauser, they knew they could play football. So I had a letter to go play with them. Unfortunately, or fortunately, as things turned out, I was in ROTC, so I had to go to Vietnam. So I missed out on that opportunity. But other than that, I got back, and I had great kids. Kids are all athletes. My daughter is, of course, a professional model and a fitness expert. My son played professional football. The younger son ran track at Michigan, and he got to go to the Olympics. So that was kind of my claim to fame there, because I got to go to Japan and China. You know, I got to go around the world and see other places. But I got to do that when I went to Vietnam, too. So I've experienced a lot of different things. And like I say, I'm too blessed to be stressed. But other than that, the Lord got me through. So I'm here.
Praise the Lord.
Now, where is Wheaton College?
Wheaton College is in Wheaton, Illinois. See, I graduated in 64, so I may be one of the older people on this call. So,
yeah, I was about 11 years old then. All right. Ron, let's see here. Ron Coleman.
Yes.
Tell us a bit.
Well, I'm a graduate of Chicago State University, and that's where I encountered Dr. Withers. At that time, Chicago State was transferring over from Chicago Teachers College, and it was a small Black college in the Chicago area. We had a lot of success there from a basketball standpoint. Matter of fact, the basketball team was a revenue generator for the university. I was able to parlay that to going overseas for a short period of time, and then I got into my career in IT. And when I got involved, it was right around the time of deregulation. So a lot of the technology that you guys use and see now is I was on the forefront of it. Matter of fact, I got involved with it before cell phones were out like you use now. Before the internet was commercially available, And a lot of the times I was only either the only African American or the only Black male that was in the executive suite in a lot of these companies. So I've seen a whole lot on both sides of the deal, and I've seen technology as it has grown and as it has changed. And currently, I'm in the frequency arena, which it's causing a lot of stir because of what it's actually doing with the body and helping to repair it. And anybody that's a former athlete, which it seems like many of us on this call are, we understand what it's like when the bones and the joints and all of the injuries that we've suffered and the havoc that it has caused on our bodies, and seeing something like this hit the market to be able to help repair not only that, but many of the chronic health conditions that we have. I'm really excited about that.
You're a former Los Angeles Lakers. Is that what I understand?
No.
Who's that?
I didn't get that far. That's Jim. That's Jim's deal there.
Yeah, that's right. I see that. Jim, with that being the case, Jim Brewer.
Yes, I started out here in Maywood, Illinois, where I went to Proviso East High School. We won the 69 state championship. I went on to Minnesota, University of Minnesota, where we won the Big Ten championship. I was a sociology major and I got my degree from University of Minnesota. Went on to play for the Cleveland Cavaliers. It sounds like I'm bragging, but we did win on every level. And ended up with the Los Angeles Lakers, world champions, 1982, the Showtime Lakers. And I had the honor to be at the reunion of 5 championships in Maui, Hawaii this past summer.
Yeah, I got a picture of that.
That was great. I mean, it was just a great experience. Having a friend like Magic Johnson. I mean, this guy is a giver and he's a leader, and he put that all together. It's just really makes me proud to be a part of that group. And we just had a great time, and I'm just really glad to be a part of this group and to give some of those experiences, if possible, that we've overcome and been really in our own way, contributed to society in that way.
One of the current events that are facing us as we make this call, WNBA star Brittany Griner has just returned from Russia, where she was held in prison and held in prison there for some time. As a result of her having to go to Russia and play ball in the off season from the WNBA, and of course, one of the reasons for that, as folks tell us, is that the pay that they get in the NWA doesn't match, doesn't allow them to equal that in the NBA. What do you think? And you've had to play overseas. I believe before we started this, you've had to. What was one of the things? Was that one of the things that prompted you to play overseas, or was it just an opportunity that presented itself?
It was both things. The opportunity presented itself. It was guaranteed money at the time. The Lakers weren't going to guarantee the money that I had because they had drafted a guy by the name of James Worthy. and so, the one thing that I did learn in school is how to count, so it was more money on this side than it was on this side. So I figured I'd take a chance with the idea of coming back. And I ended up, going over there for 3 years, and I just decided it was time to look at something else. But the money in the WNBA will grow if it's given time. I don't think that you can artificially supplement their incomes because nobody's just going to give you money. It has to pull its own weight. It has to attract the attention of the sponsors and the crowds and so forth and be given time. It took 50 years for the NBA to get where they are or more. and it's going to take the WNBA, a little more time to get their salaries up.
What is the state of education as far as African Americans are concerned, both on the HBCU level and on the university level, Notre Dame, otherwise? Do we now have the parity that we need, wherein Black folk don't have to worry any longer about getting into college or simply going to college? Because one of the arguments from the right is that we just don't have enough. The criminality within African American communities they see it as still on the rise and with no end in sight. So, is the education experience now open to everyone to go? It's just a matter of choice. Let's start with Mr. Let's go to Mr. Brewer, Mr. Collum. Let's go to Mr. Collum for this one.
Yeah, I think the opportunity is there, but I think the mindset is not. My parents were from the South. My father only had a third grade education. My mom had a high school education. So she pushed me as far as she could, which was to get a high school education. I then had an older brother who was studying computer programming because that was the next wave. And I went to St. Rita High School with the late Anthony Baroni that had tie-ins to Duke University and Mike Krzyzewski. They all went to school together in Hubie Brown. And I wasn't going to go to school. I said, Coach, I'm tired of it. Don't want to go. I'm tired of being tested. He told me about the scholarship offers that I had. Now, during that time, you can go get a job at Ford, or you can go work in a factory, and you can take care of your family. He told me, he said, Coach Brownie told me, he said, these opportunities don't come along like that anymore. And it was by my brother talking to me that I made a decision to go to college. I think with the inception of the internet, and we have created a microwave generation, I think the options for children to go into different things is greater. But I think they lack the discipline in some cases, because there has to be some maturity that comes along with that, and some discipline that allows you to be able to go to class or even to start a business. And as an athlete, and we did a lot of traveling, I finished on time. I didn't have to go back. I didn't have to take extra classes, and people wanted to know how I did it. And it had to do with the discipline that I had. So I think the opportunity is there. I think I don't think the mindset is there. And I don't think that they have the correct mentors in some cases to be able to give them the direction that they need so that they can be successful. Because it's not, I always say this, if success was easy, everybody would be successful. It's too many pitfalls.
Mr. McKinnon.
Yes.
Is the mindset not there? You study sociology. There's still a big time gang presence in Chicago. Although we don't read about it as much as used to, but every weekend in Chicago, there are at least 21 people shot, about 8 of them are dead. Is the mindset still not there in largely African-American communities? Or are they the same as anybody else?
No, I think, like you said, it's the microwave generation, where everybody wants something in a hurry. They want it fast. They want it quick. And success doesn't come that way. It takes time. And so in terms of the mindset, I think a lot of them mind they can do the work. It's just that they're not wanting to take the time to do it. The length of time that it takes.
Mr. Brewer, was it the scholarships that enabled you to start on your journey after you finished high school, or was it your own motivation to do something better?
I think it was both. But the first thing that had to happen in that whole scenario, in that whole situation, was education had to be promoted to me.
Who did that?
Benefits of education.
Who did it? Who promoted it?
My parents, and it was prevalent during that time because, you know, you had a situation where HBCUs at that time were being denied accreditation in a lot of cases. And not everyone, but, you know, some of them. And so, you know, you were kind of being discouraged from doing that, even though a lot of our predecessors had gone to HBCUs and done very well. So, but the thing that was prevalent is that the northern schools wanted to recruit the Black athletes. And so they were promoting education because they knew it was important to the parents. But now, here's my one statement. You said something about how has your HBCU impacted you in the community. I think it's been very, very positive. And why do I say that? Because the people that I could go to talk to about the college experience at that time had all been to HBCUs. And they sought me out to mentor me or to tell me, have that conversation about what it was and what you should be thinking, what your mindset should be at that time. You know, don't play bid whist all day and don't get a degree. You know, I mean, I heard that from a guy who was from Tennessee State. He was an insurance man, a guy by the name of Smitty. But anyway, I'll end it in just saying that I think the most unity has come from the HBCU, where our people that have come from there understand that there is another thing that we have to give to the people that we see. And we know, like Mr. Collins said, his parents weren't educated. My parents weren't very educated either. They couldn't tell me what I needed to know. Right. But people who had been to college and had experienced education could. So if we're going to do anything, it's going to be from us. But now we got to start creating those institutions and those situations that promote to the kids education and that really puts in more time. We haven't had time to do that. You know, we've been busy surviving and getting to where we are. But that part of it was kind of left out because of the survival, you know, and there's all kinds of reasons for that. So I'll let somebody else talk.
Al Harris, have we had enough time, or do we need more time?
We always need time, but you have to understand too, back when we played ball, at least some of us, back in the early days, it wasn't about the money because they weren't paying them anything. What the scripture says is the love of money is the root of all evil. And these young kids now, all they see is the money these athletes are making. And so they're not concerned about school. My teachers and my coaches, think about it. You see them all the time. And so if they're emphasizing you doing well in school, and by you doing well in school, you can go further on in life, because football, basketball, track, all of that's temporary. That's temporary. You have to set a foundation. If I don't set my foundation in stone, it's gonna fall down. So my stone will be the education you get, the athleticism, and playing professional ball or playing ball, period, of any type, or running track. That's icing on the cake. That's icing on the cake, because you got to live the rest of your life. And I sold insurance and securities for like 41 years. And that's what I did with people. I sat down with them. I said, look, what you need to do is you need to set a plan. You always have to have a plan, because it says in Habakkuk 2:2, it says, if you have a vision, it says, write it. You have to write the vision out so you know what you're trying to do. Because if you don't write the vision out, you don't know what you're going to do. You're going to go from this side to that side. So if I have a vision of what I want to be based on what my coaches and my teachers have been telling me, and my parents, and then I have a map. I have a map. If I don't have a map, I'm just all over the place. So that's my thing. You know, you get a vision, you got your map, it's set, and you follow the vision.
Young people today are no different than young people have ever been. And a lot of the values that they have are generally set to them by the media that they watch, and that dates them. And today, of course, they have access to media that we many of us on this particular round could only have dreamed of, in our youth. I mean, they just have access to everything. But so is the influence of what they see having, what they have and what they want to get, is that a bigger influence today than simple one-on-one mentorship was for most of you guys?
Can I interject something?
Go ahead.
At James Weldon Johnson, my junior high school, my 7th grade teacher, Mrs. Wilson, English would ask us, what do you want to be? And I remember that like it was yesterday. I told her I was going to be a professional football player or a coach. That was because of Coach Small's athletes, who were my physical education teachers, influenced me to be a physical education teacher. But our kids nowadays, the only influence they have is the media, is the social media. They don't have any parents. Some of them are raising themselves, and they don't have a map. Like Bruh said, they don't have a map to where they want to go. All they see is the pants down, the rapping, holding your crowd, singing, but nothing upstairs. But if those kids would have some mentors like we had when I was coming up, all my mentors were the neighborhood parents, made sure that they raised, as the old saying said, it takes a village to raise a kid. That's what we had. Well, we don't have that now because the neighborhood has changed. And parents don't want you to discipline their children. They figure that you trying to run over their children, but they're on first name basis with their children. They want to be friends and not parents. So those are the kind of issues. The Bible said that each generation would get weaker, wiser but weaker. But that means that they are wise and smart, but they're weak in discipline, they're weak in character. And those are kind of things that, as I look at the scripture saying.
Mr. McKinnon.
Amen.
A lot of Alabama is still rural, outside of Birmingham and Montgomery. And I don't know whether you guys have gotten the casinos down along the shoreline there, right, like they have in Mississippi and Biloxi and that. Are you seeing are you seeing a change among students that are coming into to the university in difference to what you see when you walk around the neighborhoods? Is there a change with that? Do you see them learning more, or are we doing just more of the same, seeing more of the same thing?
I think we are pushing things forward because people want, the media in one sense helps because just recently, for example, Octavia Spencer, the actor, now she was from Jeff Davis High School in Montgomery. Now this lady just had a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, So I think, the media helps in that regard. But also it hurts because at the same time, you have a lot of people who want to move forward, but they only see the quick way to move forward. So what I see in my institution is, I see a combination of both. I see those few students who want to make it, as always, and then I see a lot of students who just there for the time being and hoping that something else happens.
Ron, you're one of the younger ones on this particular call, and it struck me about one of the things that you're studying, and it has a lot to do with it's rather science related, and I might not get it right, but at least you did work at did your education work at Chicago State University. Mm-hmm. Tell us a bit about the scientific work that you've been engaged in, why you decided to do it that way, and what influenced you to stay on, to be on this path instead of going the other way.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a little bit background to kind of let you know. I was born and raised in Hyde Park area of Chicago, and from there I went to 55th Street, which is the Inglewood area. There was a boundary there on the west side. On the north side, it was Blackstone Ranger territory. On the south side, it was Disciple territory. If you went west of there, going past Racine, you dealt with the white gangs. And then in the middle, you had Latin Kings and Latin Souls. So it wasn't uncommon for me. I've seen people beat with baseball bats, 2x4s, people getting shot. So that's what I came through. But there was a strong father figure in the household who I was more afraid of my father than I was the police. So that got me through that. Had an older brother that got me through that. Now, as I go through my athletic career, I go and I get into the business world. And I started in the telecommunications arena around about the time of the deregulation. So I had a mindset, and I didn't know at the time because my degree is in English and speech and minor in radio and television, but I had a technical mind. And so I really enjoyed the computers, the networks, and so I built my career in that particular arena. So a lot of these technologies, I began to see them. I actually implemented them when I was coming up. Now, as I got older, my parents, my father, I lost my immediate family, and they all passed away from health issues, cancer, diabetes, strokes, those types of things. And so I was looking at myself, and then as an athlete, I've had so many injuries. I've had 2 major back injuries, knee injuries. I've had foot surgery, neck and shoulder. I've had all kinds of things that'll go wrong. And I made a decision. I said, I have to take care of my body. And so with the technical background that I had in the arena of computer and computer science, it caused me to begin to look to find out there has to be something out here. My college coach died from cancer. My high school coach died from cancer. So I found out as I was doing the research that they had found out that healthy cells operate at a certain frequency. And through age, time, diet, those types of things, the frequency of a healthy cell gets lower. Once it reaches a certain frequency, tumors, cancers, diabetes, all these other diseases set in until when it gets to 0, you're out of here. Now, all of you all, I know I'm probably younger, but all of you all know, you remember when we were kids in school, we were in science class, and they had those tuning forks?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you would hit those tuning forks and stuff, and you had a little glass there, and you would hit that tuning fork, and the glass would just stay there, and then he would have hit another one, all of a sudden it would shatter it. That's because the frequency in that other tuning fork was higher than that glass could hold, and it would shatter it. Well, they have done that in the area of the cells because a tumor has a frequency, cancer has a frequency, diabetes has a frequency, but a healthy frequency operates at a higher level. And so what happens is that the terahertz frequency, which there's a device that vibrates that frequency. What it does is it vibrates at the frequency of a healthy cell. And it goes to about 20 to 30 centimeters, which is about a foot into your body, far enough in where it can actually reach the marrow of your bones and actually activate the stem cells that you already have in your body. But what it does do is if it comes in contact with a healthy cell, it passes through that frequency and it gets energized. Anything else that's not a healthy cell, it melts it. and it comes out of your body via your sweat glands, urination, and defecation.
Wow, that's pretty powerful stuff.
Wow.
Have there been any studies about that as relates to prostate cancer, which is one of the bigger things that are affecting African-American men these days?
Yes, it has. And see, this is what you got to understand. Everything in your body is made up of a cell. And since this works at the cellular level, people are getting all types of positive results, almost to the point of miracle levels. And of course, we have the documentation and stuff, and I could get into some of the testimonials, but this probably is not the place for it, because you gotta.
And where did you say we could get one of these tuning forks?
Well, it's not a tuning fork.
I'm just being funny. I'm just messing with you.
So you know what? That's what you got to watch about these ex-athletes. They always want to joke around and stuff like that.
Hey, we want the success.
But the thing of it is this. I use the example of the tuning forks so that I can get you to understand how something like this can work, because when I begin to talk about this, the people's natural indication is, well, how does it work? Right. And so I have to use examples where people can understand. So when I'm talking about stuff, I can keep them engaged into what I'm actually talking about, where it can make sense to them. Because what we have done is, if we don't understand something, we throw it away.
Was the first thing.
Yeah, one of the things I want to say with the technology arena helped me. They changed my way of thinking. I frustrate my wife and my kids because how I think. I've gotten to the point that when you tell me things, I go through all the scenarios in my mind. But see, that's kind of like training. When you're playing ball, football, basketball, Jim probably can tell you that. Mr. Farley can tell you that. We did drills. And we did those drills to the point that we did them and we didn't think about them. So when a game situation came into place, we reacted. We didn't think. We reacted. We trained it. And that's one of the things that we have to do with the mind. And that's what I've done in terms of finding out about different technology that can help people to deal with everyday situations, so that you, and particularly, when you get to a certain age, and we all know this, we had a drive out of this world in our 20s and 30s. We had even more, we were slowing down at 40, but we still can kick it. Now, you'd be like, nah.
You got a book out, man?
No, I got to do some stuff for my family, because I'm at the point now I'm the only uncle that's left from my family, and I got a lot of nieces and a lot of nephews, so I got to put a lot of things together for them. So I'm on that precipice right now, getting some things together for them.
All right, okay. That address to get that information, and we'll have this up for everybody to see, is Ron Cullum at smartwtechnology.com.
That's correct.
It'll be up on the screen here when we finish up some more work on it. So let's and again, gentlemen, we're going to have another conversation and be a little bit more specific now that we have defined everybody's place. But one of the things, it seems that Chicago, as I mentioned earlier, is one of the connecting links for all of you, partly because of Dr. Withers. But the key here is, for those of you, especially in sociology and such, is there the gang situation that they experienced in Chicago and in Los Angeles and in some of the other major cities, but particularly in Chicago and Los Angeles. I won't use the word metastasize, but is it a way of life that is never going away? Is it something that eventually will bring the murder rate down on its own, or is it something that's going to require a bit of Sherman going into Atlanta type deal to end it, or is it just with us forever?
Now that's
can
one of the reasons. Go ahead. I wanted to say something, but go ahead, Al.
Okay. I was just going to say, if you remember in Chicago this past week, the police officers set up a chess tournament in Chicago, down in those areas where they actually play chess with the kids. And that's involvement. So they can look at them not as an enemy, but as someone that's there to help them. And if it depends on how you look at somebody. If they're there to help you, then you can communicate. If you don't communicate, then you're looking to shoot them in the back and all that other kind of thing. It has to be involvement. And the best way to do that involvement in most of these areas is some form of athletics. I have another friend that does midnight basketball. He has a midnight basketball a league. So he gets all these guys in the gang areas coming out to play basketball. And now they get to know each other. And it's a big difference. It's a big difference when you know somebody and you don't know them, because now you can respond differently. And I think that's one of the things, and all you guys have played athletics, you've been coaches, and you understand. Once I coach you and you understand what you're doing, I coach you for a reason. I still remember the necking exercises we used to do where they used to push your head down and hold it. That's so you didn't hurt your neck when you were tackling somebody. Instead of reacting, because you were trained properly, you act. You act the way you were taught to act, because I trained to do it. But I think that's one of the other things that's going to have to help down in those areas. They're going to have to get more involved with the kids.
Mr. McKinnon.
Okay, Jim.
Yeah, I think a lot of it just, again, is that role modeling that has to take place. You have to see it in the communities. You have to respond to the kids favorably. I know one of the sheriffs here also has like a mentoring program where he goes out fishing with the kids and taking them out, teaching them how to fish, how to do all those kind of things. So I think it's those kind of things that we have to do in order to safeguard the community.
All right. Mr. Samuels, once again.
Yes, sir. I think all things are very important. I think that you got to set example for the leadership. I mean, you got to have role models out there. And not always emphasize the things that are holding us back. I think that there are a lot of positive situations and positive reinforcement from the conversation. And I just think that as we go forward, we need to highlight those people. We need to praise them. We need to show them that there are positive things that we can do out here.
All right. One more time around for Mr. Cullum. Are these things able to make a change of the mentality and many of our communities?
Yeah, I think it does, but you got to fight. I will tell you, I don't know all of you all stories, but you went through something to get to where you are. And I think these young people need to know that there will be a struggle. Nobody puts anything precious for you to get out in the open. It's normally hid, and you have to search and you have to dig and you have to fight for it.
All right. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. It's been good to hear from you.
Can I say something before you end on?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. The first statement that I made was, I think that if something happens that's positive, it'll happen from us, meaning our community. That's number one. Number two, I said about institutions have to be established. Why? Because the leadership that these kids are looking at are rappers and people who are trying to make money out of them, to leech out of the community. And that's who they're following. Right. The gangs of Los Angeles, the gangs of yesteryear in Chicago, that is different now. They're fragmented. So you got communities of several people who are doing a lot of the damage. And it's based on this thing they call drill music, which is so negative, you don't even want to know about it. You can look it up. But anyway, I'll end with saying this. It's the education that they're not getting. We got it from mentors and people close, but that doesn't exist anymore. That's why I talked about the institutions that have to be established for that purpose, nonprofits or whatever. They have to be in that community and pick those kids up who are in that situation and educate them on success, educate them on education, and the benefits thereof, and how to get a job and how to operate in the world. But that's just my opinion.
All right.
Good
Gentlemen,
stuff.
we're going to extend this conversation in a near date. Look for a call from me to each one of you, give you some more time and talk about that. But for this edition, To My Way of Thinking, it's been a pleasure to have each one of you on this call.
Thank you, guys.
My pleasure.
Want to thank me.